Dr. Han Jiwoo stared at her computer screen in the quiet observatory. It was 3 a.m., and she was the only one still working. The light from the screen reflected off her glasses as she looked through old data from the Kepler Space Telescope. Most people would have gone home hours ago, but she knew there was something special in these numbers. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. She had checked the data 5 times already. The pattern was clear, a regular dip in the star's brightness every 365.25 days, almost exactly like Earth's orbit around the Sun. She reached for her phone and called her colleague, Dr. Kim Do-yeon. She knew he would still be awake, probably playing video games after his shift. "Do-yeon, I need you to look at something," she said as soon as he answered. "I'm sending you the data now." "Jiwoo, do you know what time it is?" Do-yeon asked, but she could hear him turning on his computer. "Just look at the numbers," she insisted. "Tell me I'm not imagining things." The silence on the other end of the line told her that Do-yeon saw it too. The data showed a planet, slightly bigger than Earth, orbiting an orange dwarf star 40 light-years away. The planet was in the perfect position. Not too hot, not too cold. It was in the Goldilocks zone, where liquid water could exist on its surface. "We need to verify this," Do-yeon said finally. "I'll be at the observatory in 20 minutes. For the next week, Jiwoo and Do-yeon worked almost nonstop. They used every telescope they could access to study the star system. They checked and double-checked their calculations. They didn't tell anyone else yet. Discoveries this big needed to be certain. The world they found was special. It was 1.2 times the size of Earth, with signs of a thick atmosphere. Its star was smaller and cooler than the Sun, but the planet orbited closer, keeping it warm enough for liquid water. The gravity would be slightly stronger than Earth's, but humans could still walk on its surface. "We should name it," Do-yeon suggested one evening as they looked at the computer models of their discovery. "Not yet," Jiwoo said. "First, we need to tell the director." The next morning, they presented their findings to Director Park at the Korea Space Science Institute. They showed him the data, the confirmations, and their calculations. The director listened carefully, his expression growing more serious with each slide. "If you're right," he said slowly, "this could be the most important discovery of the century. A potential second Earth, close enough that we might actually reach it someday." "We are right," Jiwoo said confidently. "We've checked everything, multiple times." The discovery came at a crucial time. Earth was facing serious problems: climate change, pollution, and depleting resources. The idea of finding another habitable world had moved from science fiction to necessity. Within days, the news spread through the scientific community. Telescopes around the world turned to study the planet. Space agencies began talking about missions. The public called it Earth 2.0, though its official name would come later. Jiwoo watched it all with a mix of excitement and worry. She knew this discovery would change everything. Humanity now had a real destination in space, a possible backup plan for Earth. But she also knew that reaching this new world would be incredibly difficult. One evening, as she and Do-yeon looked at new images of their planet, he asked her, "Do you think we'll ever go there?" Jiwoo thought about it for a moment. "We have to," she said. "We've spent centuries looking up at the stars, wondering if there's another world like ours out there. Now we know there is. We can't just look at it through telescopes forever." What neither of them knew then was that their discovery was just the beginning. The planet they found would lead humanity on its greatest journey yet, and reveal secrets nobody could have imagined. 3 months after Dr. Han Jiwoo's discovery, the United Earth Space Agency called a meeting in Seoul. Representatives from every major space program gathered in a large conference room overlooking the city. At the front of the room stood Lee Sun-ho, the newly appointed director of what would become humanity's most ambitious project. "We have a destination," Sun-ho began, his voice steady and clear. "Now we need a way to get there." He showed images of the distant planet on the large screen behind him. 40 light-years may not seem far in cosmic terms, but it might as well be 1,000,000 miles if we can't reach it. In the audience sat Park Myray, a quantum physicist who had spent the last decade working on a revolutionary propulsion system. As others discussed traditional rocket designs, she waited patiently. When it was her turn to speak, she walked to the front with a simple flash drive in her hand. "We've been thinking about space travel the wrong way," she said, plugging the drive into the computer. A complex diagram appeared on the screen. "My team has developed something new. We call it the quantum fold drive." The room fell silent as Myray explained her invention. Instead of trying to move through space, her engine created a bubble of warped space-time around the ship. The mathematics was complex, but the idea was simple. The ship would ride a wave of folded space, like a surfer riding an ocean wave. With this technology, Myray concluded, we can reach the new planet within 15 years instead of centuries. The room erupted in questions and excitement. Sun Ho raised his hand for silence. "Dr. Park's drive is exactly what we need. I propose we launch the Second Home Initiative immediately. We'll build humanity's first interstellar ship." Over the next few months, a base was built on the moon to construct the ship. They named it the Seeker, and it would be the largest vessel ever built by humans. Teams from every nation worked together, setting aside old rivalries for this common goal. Myray spent countless hours testing her drive system in smaller vessels. Each test brought new challenges, but also new breakthroughs. The quantum mechanics behaved differently in space than they had in Earth laboratories. Instead of being a problem, these differences actually made the drive work better. Sun Ho managed the project with careful attention to every detail. He knew that one small mistake could doom the entire mission. He chose each team member personally, looking not just for technical skills, but also for people who could work together under pressure. "We're not just building a ship," he often said to his teams. "We're building humanity's future." The construction faced many problems. The new materials needed for the quantum drive were difficult to make in space. The ship's computers had to be specially designed to work with the quantum fields. Even growing food for the long journey required new technologies. But for every problem, the team found a solution. When the hull plates wouldn't seal properly in lunar gravity, engineers designed new welding robots. When the quantum field interfered with normal computers, they developed new quantum-resistant circuits. Each solution brought them closer to their goal. 1 year into the project, Sun Ho stood in the observation room on the moon base, watching the Seeker take shape. The ship looked like a giant silver arrow, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. The quantum drive rings circled the rear section, ready to bend space itself. Myray joined him at the window. "It's beautiful," she said, looking at the ship. "Will it work?" Sun Ho asked quietly. "The drive works perfectly in all our tests," Myray replied. "But there's only one way to know for sure if we can make the full journey." Sun Ho nodded. They both knew that despite all their preparation, the mission would be dangerous. They were about to send humans farther than anyone had ever gone before. "How many people have applied to join the crew?" Myray asked. "Over 10,000, Sun Ho said. Everyone wants to be part of history." As they watched, another section of the hull was lifted into place by the construction robots. Soon, the Seeker would be ready for its first tests. The journey to humanity's possible new home was about to begin. The moon base hummed with activity as Captain Choi Yuna walked through its curved corridors. She had just finished her 1,000th hour in the mission simulator, and her steps were steady despite the low gravity. As the chosen commander for the Seeker's mission, she carried a responsibility that few could understand. In the main control room, she found Dr. Kang Ta-Won reviewing test results. As the mission's chief science officer, Ta-Won had to make sure every piece of scientific equipment would work perfectly during their long journey. "How did the simulation go?" Ta-Won asked, looking up from his screens. "Better than yesterday," Yuna replied. "But we still need to work on the emergency landing procedures." Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Ba Jinho, who rushed into the room with excitement on his face. Jin-Ho was in charge of developing the ship's artificial intelligence system, which they called ARI, Advanced Research Intelligence Assistant. ARI had just passed all its deep space tests. Jin-Ho announced, "We simulated every possible problem, and it found solutions for all of them." This was good news. The AI system would be crucial for their journey, helping to monitor the ship's systems and make quick decisions when communication with Earth became delayed by distance. The three of them walked to the observation deck, where they could see the Seeker in its construction dock. The ship was almost complete now, its silver hull reflecting the starlight. The quantum drive rings pulsed with a soft blue light during testing. "Have you seen the latest signal data?" Ta-1 asked, showing them his tablet. The mysterious patterns from their destination planet had grown stronger. Some of the signals seemed to follow mathematical sequences that couldn't be natural. Could it be artificial? Yuna asked, studying the patterns. "We don't know," Ta-1 admitted. "That's one more thing we'll have to discover when we get there." Their discussion was interrupted by an alert. The final crew selections were ready. Out of thousands of applicants, only 12 people would make the journey. Each had been chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to work together during the long mission. In the briefing room, Lee Sun-ho announced the final crew list. Besides Yuna, Ta-1, and Jin-Ho, the team included experts in various fields. Each person had trained for years, preparing for every possible situation they might face. The crew spent the next month living together in the moon base, testing their ability to work as a team. They practiced emergency procedures, studied the ship's systems, and learned to rely on each other. One evening, as they sat in the base's common room, they received an unexpected message from Earth. Dr. Han Jiwoo, who had first discovered their destination planet, had found something new in her latest observations. "The signals are changing," Jiwoo's message said. "They're becoming more regular, more like broadcasts. Whatever is causing them, it's getting stronger." This news added urgency to their mission. What would they find when they reached the planet? Were they truly ready for what awaited them 40 light-years from Earth? Yuna looked at her crew, seeing the mix of excitement and concern on their faces. They had trained for every situation they could imagine, but the unknown was still waiting for them. "We'll be ready," she said firmly. "Whatever we find out there, we'll face it together." The launch date was set for 1 month later. As the crew made their final preparations, they knew they were about to embark on humanity's greatest journey. The Seeker would carry them across the stars, toward a planet that might become humanity's second home, and toward mysteries they were only beginning to understand. The launch day arrived with a clear sky over the moon base. The Seeker stood ready in its dock, fully fueled and supplied for the long journey ahead. Inside the ship, the 12 crew members sat at their stations, running final checks on their systems. Captain Choi Yuna's voice was steady as she spoke to Mission Control. "Seeker ready for launch," she said. "All systems are green." The countdown began. In the engine room, Dr. Park Mi-rae watched the quantum drive indicators closely. The blue rings around the ship began to spin faster, creating the field that would carry them through space. 10 seconds, the computer announced. 9, 8, 7. The crew felt their hearts beating faster. Years of preparation had led to this moment. 3, 2, 1. Launch. The quantum drive activated. There was no loud roar like with regular rockets. Instead, the crew felt a gentle push as space itself bent around their ship. The moon base seemed to stretch away from them, then vanish as they entered quantum space. Song Hae-yun, the ship's botanist, quickly went to check on her plants. The greenhouse section of the ship was special. It would provide fresh food and help clean the air during their journey. She had chosen plants that could grow in artificial gravity and needed little space. "The plants are handling the quantum field well," she reported. "Even better than in our tests." In the physics lab, Nam Hai-jin noticed something strange. The quantum field around the ship was creating patterns she had never seen before. She called Captain Yuna to look at her readings. The space between stars isn't empty like we thought, Hai-Jin explained. The quantum field is showing us hidden structures, like roads between the stars. This was an important discovery. If space had natural quantum pathways, they might be able to travel even faster than they had planned. The crew spent several days studying these patterns, sending their findings back to Earth. Life aboard the Seeker settled into a routine. Every day, the crew worked on their tasks, exercised to stay healthy, and gathered for meals together. They celebrated birthdays, shared stories from home, and watched the stars streak by through the observation windows. 2 months into their journey, Hai-Jin made an exciting discovery in the greenhouse. The plants were growing differently in quantum space. They seemed to know which way to grow without needing gravity or light to guide them. It's like they can sense the quantum field, she told the others. This could help us grow food on other planets. The ship's AI, HFY, was learning and adapting too. It started to predict problems before they happened and found better ways to use the ship's energy. Jin-Ho spent hours talking with HFY, amazed at how it was developing. One night, as most of the crew slept, Hai-Jin called everyone to the physics lab. The quantum sensors had detected something massive ahead of them, a structure that shouldn't exist in deep space. It looks artificial, she said, showing them the readings. But it's older than Earth itself. Captain Yuna gathered the crew for a meeting. They had a decision to make. Should they stop to investigate this structure or continue to their destination? Their mission was important, but this discovery could change everything they knew about space. As they discussed their options, ARIS suddenly alerted them to another signal. This one was coming from their destination planet, and it was stronger than ever before. Something was waiting for them, both ahead and at their destination. The crew looked to their captain. Whatever they decided, they knew their journey had already changed human understanding of the universe, and they were still only at the beginning. The Seeker approached its target star system after 6 months of travel. The crew gathered in the main observation room, watching as the orange dwarf star grew larger in their view screens. But their attention was fixed on something else: the massive structures orbiting one of the system's outer moons. Yu Min-ki, the communications specialist, worked at his station without taking breaks. Strange data patterns filled his screens. These weren't random signals anymore. They showed clear signs of intelligence. Captain Min-ki called to Yuna. The patterns follow a mathematical sequence. They're using prime numbers as a base, just like we would if we were trying to communicate with an alien civilization. The structures became clearer as they got closer. They were made of a dark metal that absorbed most light, making them hard to see from Earth. Some were as large as cities, forming a ring around the moon. They're space stations, Dr. Kang Ta-won said, studying the sensor data. But they'd been empty for a very long time. No signs of current life. Captain Yuna faced a difficult decision. Their main mission was to study the Earth-like planet in the system, but these structures could teach them about an alien civilization. The crew was divided on what to do. We might never get another chance to study these stations, Ta-won argued. The technology inside could be centuries ahead of ours. But the signals from the target planet are getting stronger, Min-ki countered. Something is active there, something that might still be alive. After much discussion, Captain Yuna made her decision. We'll split into 2 teams, she announced. The main ship will continue to the target planet. A smaller team will take our auxiliary craft to study the moon base. Yang Jun-seo, the security chief, volunteered to lead the moon mission. He chose 3 other crew members to go with him: an engineer, a scientist, and a computer expert. They would have 2 weeks to explore the alien structures before rejoining the main ship. The auxiliary craft separated from the Seeker, carrying Jun-seo's team toward the mysterious stations. The main ship continued its journey to the target planet, but everyone felt strange about being separated. On the moon base, Jun-seo's team made incredible discoveries. The stations were perfectly preserved, protected by some kind of energy field that kept out radiation and debris. Inside, they found rooms filled with strange machines and walls covered in symbols. "Look at this," the engineer called out, pointing to a large screen that still worked after all this time. It showed star maps, but the stars were in different positions than they knew. The maps were thousands of years old. Meanwhile, on the Seeker, Min-Ki detected a change in the signals from the target planet. They were getting more organized, almost like they were responding to the ship's presence. "It's like something woke up when we entered the system," he told Captain Yuna. "The signals are trying to tell us something." Araya, the ship's AI, started translating the symbols that Jun Seo's team found on the moon base. The story they told was troubling. The ancient civilization had left this system in a hurry, running from something they had discovered about their star. As both teams worked to understand these mysteries, they realized they had found much more than just a potential new home for humanity. They had stumbled into a story much older and bigger than they had imagined. The next few days would change everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the universe. Security Chief Yang Jun-seo stood in the ancient control room of the alien moon base, studying the holographic displays that still functioned after thousands of years. His small team had made remarkable progress in understanding the alien technology, thanks to the universal language of mathematics and science. "The energy systems are still running at 40% capacity," the engineer reported. "Whatever powers this station, it's far more advanced than anything we have on Earth." In another section of the base, they found what appeared to be living quarters. Everything was larger than human scale, suggesting the aliens were taller than humans. But the basic needs seemed similar. They needed rest, food, and social spaces. Meanwhile, the Seeker continued its approach to the target planet. Captain Choi Yuna watched as the blue-green world grew larger in their view screen. It looked remarkably like Earth, with white clouds swirling over vast oceans. Communications specialist Min-Ki worked continuously to decode the strengthening signals from the planet. With ARIA's help, he made a breakthrough in understanding them. "Captain," he called out urgently, "these aren't just signals. They're warnings." The alien base left them running, broadcasting the same message over and over. On the moon base, Jun Seo's team made their own disturbing discovery. They found a vast database of scientific readings taken over hundreds of years. The data showed a frightening pattern. The system's star was becoming unstable in ways that normal science couldn't explain. The aliens didn't just leave, Jun Seo reported back to the Seeker. They evacuated. Something about this star scared them enough to abandon everything they built here. Captain Yuna faced another difficult decision. The planet ahead of them was perfect for human life. All their readings confirmed it. But if something was wrong with the star, settling here could be dangerous. "How long?" she asked during the emergency meeting. "How long until the star becomes dangerous?" "According to the alien data, we have at least 10,000 years, Jun Seo replied through the communication link. But they left these warnings running because they believed other species would eventually find this place. Dr. Kang Ta-won studied the combined data from both teams. "The aliens left us more than warnings," he said. "They left us their technology. The quantum drives they used were far more powerful than ours. They could evacuate entire populations if needed." The crew realized they had found something both wonderful and terrible, a perfect planet that came with an expiration date, and the technology to potentially save humanity if Earth ever faced a similar crisis. "We need to document everything," Captain Yuna decided. "Both the planet and the alien technology. Earth needs to know about all of it." The moon base team discovered more living quarters and research labs. Each new room contained valuable information about the alien science and culture. They had been a peaceful species, focused on exploration and learning. On the Seeker, the crew prepared for their approach to the planet. Despite the warnings about the star, they needed to complete their mission. The planet could still serve as a temporary colony, and the alien technology could revolutionize human space travel. "Send a message to Earth," Captain Yuna instructed Min-Ki. Tell them we found much more than a new home. We found a message from the past and a mission for the future. The choice they made now would affect not just the mission, but the entire future of human space exploration. The Seeker entered orbit around the blue-green planet as the moon-based team rejoined the main ship. Through the observation windows, they could see continents covered in something that looked like vegetation, though its color was more purple than green. Se-Jin, the ship's biologist, prepared the testing equipment in the laboratory. The ship's sensors had already confirmed that the atmosphere contained oxygen, but they needed to know if the air was safe to breathe. The atmospheric composition is remarkable, Se-Jin announced to the crew. It's very similar to Earth's, but with slightly more oxygen. We could breathe it with minimal filtering. Captain Choi Yuna authorized the launch of probe drones to study the surface. The drones sent back images of vast forests with purple leaves, great plains covered in grass-like plants, and oceans that shimmered with an unusual bright blue color. The plant life adapted to the orange sunlight, Se-Jin explained as she studied the data. They evolved to use different wavelengths of light than Earth plants. That's why they're purple instead of green. Dr. Kang Ta-won worked with ARI to analyze the geography. They found locations suitable for a human settlement, places where the gravity and terrain were most like Earth. The gravity was about 20% stronger than Earth's, but humans could adapt to it over time. The most exciting discovery came when Se-Jin examined the first soil and water samples brought back by the drones. Under her microscope, she found something extraordinary. "There's life here," she said, her voice filled with wonder. Microscopic organisms, but completely different from anything on Earth. They use a different type of DNA structure. The crew gathered around her microscope, taking turns to look at the alien microbes. These tiny creatures had evolved independently from Earth life, proving that life could develop in many different ways. Yang Junseo shared what they had learned from the moon base about the planet. The ancient civilization had studied it too, but never settled here. They had used it as a research station, studying its unique life forms. They called it the Young World, he explained. Its life is much younger than Earth's. These microbes might be the beginning of something much bigger, given enough time. The crew spent the next week conducting detailed surveys of the planet. They found no large animals, but the microscopic life was everywhere, slowly changing the planet just as early life had changed Earth billions of years ago. "This world is like seeing Earth's past," Se-Jin said during a crew meeting. "It shows us how life begins and evolves on a planet. We could learn so much from studying it." But the star's future instability remained a concern. The alien data suggested that in thousands of years, the star's radiation would increase, potentially making the planet uninhabitable. Any human settlement here would need to plan for an eventual evacuation. "We can't think of this as a permanent solution," Captain Yunat told her crew. "But it could be a stepping stone. We can learn from this world while we search for others." The crew began preparing their final report for Earth. They had found a planet that humans could live on. But more importantly, they had discovered proof that life could exist in different forms. The purple forests and alien microbes would change how humans thought about life in the universe. They also had the alien technology from the moon base, which could help humanity reach even more distant stars. Their mission had succeeded in ways they had never expected, opening up new possibilities for human exploration of space. 1 month after landing on the planet, the Seeker prepared for its journey back to Earth. The crew had gathered more data than they had hoped for, but they had also found something unexpected in the alien records from the moon base. Dr. Kang Ta-won and ARIA had finally decoded the last part of the alien warning. It wasn't just about the star's future instability. The aliens had discovered a pattern that affected this entire region of space. Every 50,000 years, Ta-won explained during the final crew meeting, this area of the galaxy experiences massive energy waves. These waves change how stars behave. That's why this star will become unstable. Captain Choi Yuna looked out at the purple forests below their ship. The beautiful world they had found was part of a bigger story. "Will these waves reach Earth?" she asked. "Not for a very long time," Taiwan answered. "The waves move slowly through space. Earth has millions of years before it needs to worry about them." The alien technology they had found was even more valuable now. The quantum communication network left behind by the ancient civilization still worked. It could send messages instantly across huge distances in space. Yu Min-ki had learned how to use this network. "We can talk to Earth in real time," he said. "No more waiting hours for messages to travel." This technology could connect the whole galaxy. Dr. Han Jiwoo, who had first discovered this planet, was amazed when she received their first instant message back on Earth. The quantum network worked perfectly across 40 light-years of space. "This changes everything," she wrote back to them. "We don't need to find one perfect planet anymore. With this technology, humanity can reach thousands of worlds." The crew's final task was to leave their own warning beacon on the moon base, next to the alien one. They wanted future visitors to know both the dangers and the opportunities they had found here. Oh Se-jin spent her last days collecting samples of the planet's microscopic life. These tiny creatures had survived here for millions of years, slowly changing their world. "They show us that life finds a way to adapt," she said, "just like humanity must do." Before they left, Captain Yuna recorded the mission's final log. She spoke about everything they had learned. The planet that could be a temporary home, the alien technology that could help humanity reach the stars, and the warning about the galaxy's future. "We came looking for a second Earth," she said in her recording. "Instead, we found something more important. We found proof that we're not alone in the universe, even if those who came before us have moved on. We found tools that can help us explore further than we ever dreamed. And we found a mission: to preserve and protect life wherever we find it." The Seeker's quantum drive activated one last time, carrying them back toward Earth. They left behind automated stations to study the planet and its young life forms. Someday, human scientists would return here to learn more. Back on Earth, Dr. Han received their full report. She smiled as she read about the purple forests, the alien microbes, and the ancient civilization's legacy. The search for Earth 2.0 had led humanity to something greater, an understanding of their place in a living, changing galaxy. Their mission had started with one person looking at telescope data late at night. It had ended with humanity's first steps into a larger universe, carrying a message of both warning and hope for the future.